Hello, my name is Emma Davis. Tonight on Prime Business, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta assures the 2024 budget will deal with concerns of the private sector in relation to high taxes. The minister is expected to present the budget to Parliament by the middle of next month, which will be heavily influenced by the IMF program. Take a listen.
As a market-oriented government, there's no question in our minds about the need for the private sector to be able to thrive and for us to gain the type of productivity that we require as a nation and to create the jobs, because there's a limit to what government can do in terms of absorbing jobs. We have, as you know, been able to, once upon a time, bring interest rates to reasonable levels, and then we've gone through this period and with the restructuring where we are going to have to confront how do we get them to have access to capital, long-term financing, and rates that make sense, and that really is what we need to be able to deliver in this coming budget. Exactly what alternatives we have for them to have access to capital. But they all also, I believe, understand the need for macro stability. You know, at whatever rate it is, if it is stable, they can plan. And we are assuring them of our commitment to make sure that the inflation continues to come down, to make sure that the currency at least is stable or continues to trend downwards. That we will. Then our challenge now is finding appropriate capital for them to be able to do their business. And that is what we hope that by the time the growth plan is done, in time for the budget in November, we will have inklings of how that would work.
Let's get some reaction from the business community, and I'm joined by the Public Relations Officer of Kuta, Joseph Paddy. Mr. Paddy, welcome.
Thank you.
This must be reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah, we've heard it before. Let me say good evening to your viewers and your listeners. I was just coming from Akosombo to have a first-hand information as what is happening at the Akosombo Dam, because we know we have trading communities over here, so we have to seek their welfare too. So I'm just coming from them. Yes, I've heard what the finance minister said, but it's like the confidence level of the trading community has gone down. The trust level has also gone down, because we've been hearing this. Once upon a time, they told us they are bringing some special levy, 2% special levy, and when the sun sets, they're going to take it off. Till now, we still have it there. Now, the finance minister has come to admonish, and I appreciate the fact that as we've been complaining about the cost of doing business in the country being extremely high, it's now clear for everybody to see and Ghanaians to see. He has confirmed what we've been saying all this while. Doing business in the country is no longer attractive. Because cumulatively, when you put all things together, our tax component and our tax structure, Kuta has been calling for tax reforms and tax reviews, because if you are going to pay cumulatively about 22% VAT, it's extremely on the higher side. So as our tax position stands, it will be even difficult to have foreign direct investors into the country.
Wouldn't you say this was quite necessary due to COVID-19?
No, before COVID-19, we have all these factors in place, because we're talking about special levy. We talk of even before COVID-19, 1% came in. There are so many tax companies. Even when you go to the port to go and clear your goods, you have about 19 line items of taxes. Coupled with that, we've also been complaining about the activities of the shipping lines in this country, that their cost of service charges is extremely high. Because just imagine, you are going to clear about 40-footer container. The service fee alone, you are going to pay about 12 to 15,000.
I'm sure you're expecting that these taxes or the port charges will be scrapped in the 2024 budget.
Yes, that is the sentiment we expressed to the minister, that now cost of doing business is no longer attractive as a result of these taxes that have come on board. Now, and secondly, when you talk about even the VAT regime, the VAT regime is not even attractive in the sense that the composition of the VAT system is not. There's no parity in it. Some are taking 3%, 4%. Some are taking 22%. Some are taking 15%. So it makes the tax regime not parity, and because of that, it's difficult to comply. Compliance level in this country is extremely low as a result of the way we've positioned our tax structure. And that's why we have been calling for tax reforms in all these areas. And as the finance minister has rightly said, now when you go to the port, business is no longer going on there. The flow, the traffic of containers that we used to see some years ago, now you go to the port, there's nothing to write home about. We are losing business to our neighboring countries, to their seaport as a result of our tax position. Because cost of doing business in this country, let's look at, for example, borrowing from the commercial banks. You are going to borrow at the rate of 40%. You can't stay in business with that borrow. Our interest rate is hovering up around 40%. You know, when you apart from that, when you go to our exchange rate, $1 to 12, $1 to 12. So everything is against us. Everything is against the Ghanaian businessman. Because just imagine, we are not competitive to our neighboring country in the sense that the person goes to borrow at the rate of 10%, 15%, and you are borrowing from the bank at the rate of 40%. So we are doing the same manufacturing, but I can assure you, let somebody manufacture this phone from Togo, that maybe you're going to borrow from the bank 15%, and you are borrowing from 40%. From the word go, you are not competitive. So even after that we are drumming home about, the African Continental Free Trade that we are talking about, if we don't put all these structures in place so that we have one harmonized code, that there will be parity, still goods and service in Ghana will be expensive than that of our neighboring countries.
You mentioned tax compliance and GRI. I want to find out what's the relationship, or how has it been so far, especially considering that the Abuso spare parts dealers threatened to shut down November 1. What's the progress so far?
Yeah, we believe that every country needs tax to develop a country. We believe strongly that. But like I said, our tax structure, our tax rate is high. It's extremely, extremely high. 22% on VAT. It's extremely high. You go to the port, going to clear your goods at the rate of almost about 51% cumulatively. So just imagine you brought a goods worth about $100,000. You are paying about $51,000 as tax, as duty. So obviously, there's no way the compliance level will go up. So Aboso Ghana people, the reason why they came out with that position is that in recent time, GRA came out with a policy that they are coming to do auditing. And for the auditing, they are coming to sit in your shop. And you know, already the mindset of the Ghanaian, we were saying that why will you not also educate the consumer that when you go to buy from any shop, get a VAT receipt? Because a consumer will come to you and say, I don't want VAT receipt. And as a businessman, would you want that consumer or that man who is coming to buy from you to go? Obviously, you want to sell for the person. And at the end of it, you have to find money to go and pay the VAT. So if businesses are complaining that they are losing their capital and you also come up with that policy, times are always important in terms of doing business, the seasons that you know in terms of doing business. So if you are putting that so much pressure, see, what we have seen is that government is interested in the revenue, but they are not interested in the facilitation of our businesses. But they go together. They go hand in hand. As much as you want the revenue to develop the country, you also have to make sure you come up with a policy to facilitate the trading so that we grow. When you grow, your business will also grow. But if you are taking only one-sided, all that you have to comply, bring your revenue.
We understand that traders are calling for taxes to be scrapped. The finance minister has, promised that is something that they'll be addressing in the budget. Going forward, what other recommendations do you have for government?
We appreciate that. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we are hoping for. Because it's one thing said, and it's another. The implementation is another thing altogether. Because once upon a time, we were complaining about the same taxes, and we call them nuisance taxes. And then they came to assure us that we are moving from taxation to production, which we all welcomed it. It's a healthy exercise. It's a healthy announcement. So the business community and the trading community welcome that idea.
What would you find as surprising if it's not scrapped from the budget?
It will be shocking, because that's what I'm saying. That's why we are a little skeptical about what it has been said. Let's see. They say the goodness of the food is in the eating. Let's see whether it will come on board, because once upon a time we were told that we are moving from tax to production, and before we could say jack, now the taxes has been increased rather. So let's hope that this time the finance minister will stand by his word and make sure you take some, especially one of the things we expect to go off is the COVID-19 1% special levy. We expect it to go. that 2% special levy, we expect it to go. We expect that they should check the activities of the shipping authorities, the way they are charges, and we also want for them to pull down on the duties of goods and services in our borders, in our the ports, so that we can attract more importation. Okay. As it stands now, the importation is low. Not that the people don't want to import, but the cost of clearing is extremely expensive. My dear, let me tell you something. You just go and buy a car worth about $3,000. And you come and pay a duty in Ghana, you have about 42,000 Ghana cedis duty, which means the cost of revenue or the cost of tax is even more than the cost of the item. So it's a worrying situation, it's a difficult situation.
Thank you, Mr. Paddy. Joseph Paddy is the PRO for GUTA, and he was here, allaying his concerns. But still with government, as economist Dr. Patrick Asuming has advised government not to rationalize social intervention programs. Rather, it should focus on unplanned expenditure outside the budget. Government, with the help of the World Bank, says it has completed work in the rationalization of some social intervention programs like the free SHS. According to him, these social interventions have small budget allocations and shouldn't be scrapped because of the impact it will have on the poor.
It's definitely worth reviewing any new programs that government implements to see what is working and what is not working. And if you take the case of the flagship program that this government has brought, I think it's important that we do an assessment to see where it has worked and what we can do to improve it. Now, what we have to understand is if our goal is to reduce expenditures, if you look at all those social intervention, the flagship program that we can call social intervention, take the free SHS, if you take LEAP, if you take school feeding, if you take all of them, they are less than 5 billion. That's a very small fraction of our expenditure for this year. So if our goal is to make savings, as far as the program is concerned, that's not what we should be. That's not where we should be looking at. If we want to make expenditure cuts, that is not where we should be looking at. We should be looking at the expenditures outside of appropriation, the unplanned spending that happens every year in our budget. And there are many other things that we should be looking at, and not the small allocation that we've made to help the poor.
As part of efforts to promote inclusive insurance, the National Insurance Commission has indicated its intention to roll out aggressive efforts to rake in the informal sector into the insurance bracket. According to the Acting Commissioner Michael Andor, the Commission is poised to change the negative perception associated with insurance. He spoke to Joy Business at a press soiree to announce the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance.
The 19th International Conference on Inclusive Insurance will be held in Ghana from the 23rd to 27th October 2023. Experts from over 50 countries will converge in Ghana to discuss and identify ways of accelerating growth and economic viability in inclusive insurance for emerging markets. Acting Commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, Michael Andor, explains the need to improve insurance coverage to rake in the informal economy.
Insurance as designed is mainly suits the white and blue collar employees. They usually would have a salary and they will have a bank account, and at the end of the month they are paid, their money goes into the bank account, insurance company will make their deduction. But the majority of our people are in the informal sector. Majority. The formal employees are very few. Most of our people are farmers, they are petty traders, they are carpenters, they are masons, they are fishermen. Most of our people, that's what they do. So the name inclusive means opening access to everybody. The thing about having a formal job and having a bank account raises barriers for people. And since majority of our people don't live their life that way, they don't have access to insurance. So inclusive insurance means opening access to everybody.
He spoke on the importance of the conference to the Ghanaian insurance sector.
We need to educate. When you say we have work, we really have work to do. On both the demand and the supply side, we have work to do. And this conference we have been doing it for some time, but I think this conference will give us a boost and help us to have access to resources, resource persons, expert experience, data, discussions, a lot that we can gain from there.
The conference will be hosted by the National Insurance Commission, the Ghana Insurance Association, and the Insurance Brokers Association of Ghana, in cooperation with Munich Re Foundation and the Micro Insurance.
Head of Sales and Marketing at KPMG Ghana, Akisi Aka, has underscored the need to tighten regulatory frameworks to govern the fintech space. According to her, this is needed to clamp down on money laundering activities in Ghana. She was speaking at the launch of the 2023 Ghana FinTech Awards.
The FinTech Awards was set up to recognize the tremendous turnaround seen in the financial sector, with emerging technologies helping to cover and bank and underbanked populations into the financial ecosystem. Digital financial services have also helped to make financial transactions seamless. In an interview, Head of Sales and Marketing at KPMG Ghana, Akisi Aka, said a stringent regulatory framework is needed to reduce money laundering activities in the financial sector.
And really, as the industry grows and with all digital platforms, there needs to be the need for a regulatory framework. It's a new sector, so it's now evolving, and there need to be the guided rules for everybody to play within the same scheme. And really, at this point, when it comes to money usage through e-commerce and e-transfers and all that, that's where we see the upsurge of money laundering as well. So then we are positioned to really help the industry to make sure that the regulatory environment is actually robust, that can sustain anti-money laundering capabilities and also support systems and all that. And also, as we also work to grow the industry, we are bringing more people into the fray, be they end users or be they businesses as well. That's where we need to make sure that the KYC is also robust enough to make sure that we are actually recouping into the system people that are traceable, people that can actually support the growth of the industry and, build the financial sector for maximum growth for the economy as well.
Project coordinator of the Ghana FinTech Award, Christina Swanawaga, said the award ceremony is aimed at identifying players who have contributed significantly to the growth of the fintech space.
We want to identify all of the players within the industry, and we want to ensure that these players are very well rewarded for the hard work that they put into the ecosystem to ensure interoperability, to ensure partnership between the fintech companies and the banks, to ensure that the unbanked and the underserved are also served, because as we noticed previously, there was a group of population that was not included within the financial sector, and that is because either they did not have formal jobs, so they could not provide job letters to open an account. Now any and anyone can now have a mobile money wallet. That makes the whole entire transaction within the ecosystem easier.
The Ghana FinTech Awards, which will take place on 3rd February 2024, is themed Balancing Innovation and Compliance in Creating a Digital Economy.
Unconventional farming practices, illegal mining activities, and climate change are heavily depleting Ghana's soil fertility, impacting farm production and threatening the country's food security. On this week's episode of Food Chain, Emmanuel Bryce Kweku speaks with some farmers and agri experts on how to collectively salvage the situation with regenerative agriculture.
This is 40-year-old David Avete, a farmer at Fievia Dugame in Sogakope of the Volta region. He cultivates pepper together with cassava and maize on his 3-acre farm.
I do cassava and maize and pepper, so I just take this, all those things you are not buying again. So if you go to our farm, we go take it, that's all. You can. So it helps us.
Okay, so in a month, how much do you get from the farm? Or in a month, how much can you...
For a month?
Yeah, the money you make.
The money that I'll make maybe 1,000 or 1,500, that's all. For a year, not for a month.
Okay.
Maybe my That's small this in their school fees from I can't get.
In 2010, David left behind his wife, children, and farm to seek an alternative source of income, artisanal mining. But the dangers of the illegal activity pushed him back into farming.
One day we go to the work, there's a water, and the water can't pay you, so he lets our boat go for the distance. If you don't know how to swim, there you go. That is why I see him say, this thing, I can't stay away for.
His decision to farm again is rather met with challenges. He's unable to harvest enough pepper. South Tong District Director of Agriculture, Shine Akapu, explains environmental challenges encountered by farmers in the over 15 communities under the district.
The flooding comes now. It takes away most of the nutrients. You know, flooding, most nutrients will be lost. Yeah, and not even nutrients. They will not be able to crop because the area have been occupied with water. They have to wait until it subsides before they go back to farm. That's also an issue. And the erosion with it running away with the soil nutrient effect is also there. OCP people came and then they helped them in doing some analysis on the soil. The results are with them. Some you look at it, the nitrogen very red, meaning they've given them short interpretation. With the red color, it means you are in danger.
In despair, David looks at his brown, dried and fruitless maize farm located a few meters away from the pepper farm. Planted months ago, the farm was destroyed by a recent downpour that flooded the village. He had hoped to use proceeds from the farm to cater for his family's urgent needs.
When did this happen? When did you plant this maize?
The maize. We planted this April. Yes, this April.
So, looking at this, are you going to plant again?
Yes, we are going to plant again. Because you have to do. Maybe if you not do, we will not get anything to survive our this.
Audrey S. Daku, founder of Sabonsaki, takes farmers through some climate-smart agricultural practices.
In making it, you can have maybe a kilogram worth or a ton worth of biomass waste. I say regenerative agriculture solely looks at working in tandem with nature to actually grow food, ensure that you're beginning to see the farm.
The full feature will air tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the Joy News channel. And that's how we wrap up tonight on Prime Business. My name is Emma Davis. For more news, do log on to myjoyonline.com.
Sought after from many clubs. You know, he's a very prolific striker. He spent some time in the Bundesliga. You could call this some